This is my version of the 500i video. What homesteading / firewood channel is complete without the requisite Stihl 500i video? Now the Stihl 500i has been out for a couple years here in America. It's been out across the pond for a few more years than that. And I don't know of any other chainsaw out there that has produced more blog posts, more articles, or more YouTube videos than the 500i. So you're like, well, why are you making another one? Well, because I like making are they worth it videos. I think for you guys that are watching, your hard-earned money on some of these expensive toys is really the deciding factor a lot of times. So I've made videos about the wood chipper, I've made videos about the 2025, and now it's the 500i's turn. The other thing too is EVE started a video the other day about is it worth it videos, and how the answer is always no, but that's not always the case here on this channel. I'll give you the straight dope, if you will. So why did I get the 500i? So I went to my dealer the other day and he had a 462 and a 500, and I had CC envy really bad with the 362 CM that I had for the last couple of years. So I was back and forth. I wanted the 462, I wanted the 500. I read, I watched, I like everybody else, and perhaps you who was watching the video right now. I ended up going with the 500. I think the deciding factor for me personally was just the cool factor, the it thing. And it's got it in spades, so I went with the 500. Now going back to some of the research, I know that there's a lot of people who make this saw is awesome videos. One of the more respected people in this firewood / chainsaw YouTube community is Buck and Billy Ray, and he's not a big fan of the 500. And for me, while I respect Buck and Billy Ray's opinion and his knowledge on how to fell trees, I've used him here myself, the reality is he's an old school chainsaw guy. It's like asking a guy who drives a 66 Mustang how he feels about the new Mustang. Oh, it's all plasticky, it's not that good. I get it. So I took his opinion with a grain of salt, even though I trust him. I trust a guy I never met before. He was also under the opinion, like I was, that you couldn't go wrong with the 462 or the 500, and I'm still of that opinion here after using it. So while I've never run a 462 or a 500 prior to purchasing my own, it seemed like the differences in the people's opinions that run them all the time, they were kind of knick-knacky. Fuel and weight and power. Some guys say this, some guys say that. I'm going to go off of the base standard. What I knew was the 362 CM. The 362 is the smallest professional made in Germany steel saw that you can get. The 261 is a professional saw in Stihl's line, but that one is made in America. Not that there's anything against America, but you know, I wanted the German saw, so I went with the 362. Now I could say this, I've said it before a million times, there is nothing wrong with that saw. Nothing wrong at all. But of course there are going to be huge differences between the 362 and the 500. You know, the big one is going to be the size. The 362 at a 79.2 cc and the 362 at a 59 cc, of course there's going to be power differences throughout the power band. More torque, more speed on the 500. You kind of know that. That's why people want to upgrade. CC envy. Now with those CCs, one of the biggest gripes that you're gonna have, that you'll hear people talk about on the 500, is how much fuel it uses. It's a gas hog. Of course you're gonna have higher fuel economy when you're stepping up from, say, something like a 271 Farm Boss, and you really wanna step up into the 500. Just the CCs alone are gonna drink more fuel. Now I could say in my experience after running the 500 that it really doesn't drink that much more than the 362 does. If it did, without, you know, weights and measurements, it's negligible. I don't find that saw is thirstier than the 362, even with the increased CCs. If it is, it's within a few minutes. Negligible at best. That to me is a non-issue, and I'm kind of relieved about that. The next big gripe that you hear about people talk about the 500 is, oh, it's the first chainsaw that's fuel injected. What do we know about the reliability? I don't want to spend all this money and have to deal with reliability issues. Fair point, but not really. The TS500i, the concrete saw, has been out for, which was the world's first fuel injected steel concrete saw, has been out for well over a decade now. I believe it was released in 2012, maybe 13, but you're getting it. And there have not been overwhelming reliability issues with those. To me, that was a non-issue. Secondly, the MS 500, the saw that we're talking about, has been out in Europe for a few years now, even with COVID, and you're not hearing huge reliability issues with that. So being scared of computers on on a chainsaw, to me, was a non-issue. Again, I came from a 362 CM with the M-Tronic, and that saw was phenomenal. That you had to do a reset on it. It would rip. It was totally fine. So going in from one M-Tronic to another M-Tronic, essentially with the 500, to me is a non-issue. So the reliability thing wasn't there for me either. Now, as far as what I've done with the 500i, I knocked a tree down with it. We did a little bit of felling, and I have to say that from the 362 to the 500, the instant spin up, the instant RPMs that are there on the trigger when you're kind of right back in the back cut, ready to drop this thing, is really comforting. Your heart's really going, and I really, really like that. I like that when you hit that gas, boom, it's right there. You can kind of make precision cuts right as that tree is going down. Of course, I didn't film it because who wants to film their own death? But as far as felling goes, it was tremendous. And we're not talking about a huge tree, probably a 50-footer or so. I don't know, 18, 20 inches round. And of course, it dropped it with no problem. But for me, the operator, that instant get up and go that wasn't there on the 362 was easily the biggest difference that I saw. So I really did like that. But the overwhelming majority, at least for me, my MS 500i is going to be in production of firewood. Production is kind of a funny word. In making firewood, I don't sell. This is just for the house here. And in my opinion, it is the ultimate firewood saw. Cuts like a laser beam. It flings chips like you wouldn't believe. If you've ever fired a roller blowback lead delivery device and you know how far they sling brass, it's very reminiscent of how far the chips fly on the 500. I don't know if that's a product of the speed or the torque, but they really go all over the place. I don't know if that's in anyone's decision-making process, but it really stands out. This thing really rips the chips out of there. Really fantastic. But as far as cutting rounds, I've got a 33-inch round over there. I've got any number of different size rounds and any number of different size species, and I haven't been able to stop it yet. And noodling, it's got no problem noodling. There's tons of power noodling. The 362, I do have to say, the 362 did not like noodling very much. And the 500 has no problem. No problem at all noodling. Am I going to do any upgrades to it? Maybe. By the time you see this, I should have the light bar on it. It came with the standard bar, but then they're going to put on the light bar because that's what it's supposed to come with. Do I notice it's top or front heavy with the regular bar on it? Not really. But you know what? A pound is a pound is a pound, and I'll take the light bar. It'll be greatly appreciated. Do I think it's going to affect the performance of it? No, because it's already a damn laser beam. I don't think you could make this thing any better. Which gets into my next point. On the 362, I put a bark box on it. Am I going to put a bark box on the 500? Probably not. And here's the reason. For pure performance, torque, uncorking, all that stuff, I haven't seen anything that kind of proves it. Now, there are a number of different videos of versus, on, off, etc. I didn't see anything that was going to sell it to me either way. Now, that being said, if there is interest, I'm thinking about getting the bark box and doing one purely on heat. If it's able to get heat out of the body of the saw any better, maybe it would be worth it. I'll get the old FLIR out and we'll video and see if the bark box is able to get any heat away from the body any better than stock. I don't know. I can tell you this, the way that the bark box is designed, at least on the 362, it would come out of the exhaust and then just fire right into the side of the chain action. It would just shoot right into it. So I don't know if there's actually any benefit to the bark box. I don't know. It's yet to be seen. If there's interest, for the sake of science, and buying a toy for my toy, leave a comment down below. If there's interest, I would love to do that. Like I said, we'll maybe, I don't know, run it for 20 minutes and then put the bark box on, FLIR it, check it, who knows. Now finally, the last accessory that I definitely am going to do is put the West Coast Saw 4-point felling dogs on there for a couple of reasons. First one, they look cool. Come on, let's face it. There's nothing wrong with the anemic 4-point stock dogs here. I haven't seen an issue with them so far. But one of the things that I did like about the 4-point felling dogs when I had them on the 362 is these logs, they get sappy, they get dirty, and I liked being able to have the saw kind of sitting up with that bottom dog that's coming out there like a kickstand. Is that important to you? No idea. Is it important to me? Yes. So it's an upgrade that I'm thinking about doing. I'm well aware that it takes an inch off of your bar length, and an inch is very important these days, any days. But to me, I like the way that it would sit up. That's just me. So to answer the $1,500 in 2022 question, is this saw worth it? I have to say, and I remarked to the missus about this, I can't remember a product in my life where the hype was so big and the actual product met the hype. This saw is a laser beam. It is fantastic. You know, I only have a handful of saws under my belt, all smaller, and this thing is just incredible. It is a fantastic saw, but is it worth it? So I think that if you're making money in any sort of way having to deal with chainsaws, whether you're making firewood to sell, you're dropping trees, you're clearing trees, you're landscaping, you might do a little trees on the side, time equals money. And in that case, yeah, absolutely, it's worth it. This thing is a laser beam. I find myself being done before I'm even breaking a sweat. The speed difference between the 362 and the 500, I'm sure is calculable, but it's almost incalculable in yard time. It's just, bwap, you're done, bwap, 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 you're done. And it's really fun to run. There's no gripes with that. But if you're not making money with it, I don't know. It is expensive. It's very expensive. And is the cool factor worth it? That's a you decision. I can't tell you that. Is it $1,500 cool? I don't know. If I was of, I don't know how to say it, but if I was of lesser means, the 362 was perfectly adequate. It had been for the last couple of years, but I had the money. I wanted to upgrade. And don't get me wrong, I sold the 362 to pay for part of the 500. Could you get away with doing exactly the same thing in the yard as far as cleaning up or a little bit of firewood production, a quarter or two here with a 261 or a 362? Absolutely, 100%. Is it worth it in that case? Almost definitely not. Sorry. Not sorry. So in that case, you could take the extra $1,000 that you save by using a 261 or a 362, not get the 500, and maybe put that $1,000 somewhere else where could be a little bit more useful. But if you had a good year this year and you're anticipating more record profits and you need a tax write-off, man, if you have the ability to get this 500, do it. Do it. There's no question. You will not regret it. Just do it. So that's it. That's my unabashed opinion on the Stihl 500i. If you have any questions or comments, please don't hesitate to leave them down below. It really helps the channel out. Otherwise, I'll catch you on the next one. Stop pointing at the damn trees. There's nobody up there. What's wrong with you?